right, welcome to another exciting episode of Scuttlebutt, the official podcast of the National Museum of the Surface Navy. My name is David Canfield. I'm the Chief Information Officer and Vice President for the organization. I get my hand slapped for calling it institution, so I will be tripping over that through the whole podcast. I'm joined in studio. We're going to mix it up a little bit. I'll start on my left by
Dr. Doolittle.
Dr. Doolittle.
Somebody with a new nickname, Kyle Obby. I am the development manager here and glad to have that new nickname.
Kyle, you've had like 4 nicknames in just a short span of 4 months.
You know, I kind of just respond to whatever comes my way. Bruce has been calling me Ryan the entire time he's known me. So
I actually saw
learn
that.
to live with it.
And not only that, I saw Bruce was actually embarrassed when he figured out that your name was Kyle. And it's rare to see Bruce embarrassed.
He was, and he offered me $100 if he did it again. And then I saw him on Tuesday, and he did it again, but he didn't give me $100. So, but it's okay. I'll have make an invoice out to him and have it come our way.
Absolutely. And on my right,
I'm Marianne Fengler. I'm the producer in here, and I do all the things around here. And I have several nicknames.
Ice Queen.
Keel hauler.
Skater.
Button pusher.
Skater. Speaking of etymology and sailor terms.
My skater term is better than your skater term.
Probably.
Just saying.
Yeah, on the railroad we had a different term, and it's not repeatable here.
Yeah, it's right.
It involves
Quick segue.
inappropriate
Who's
things
next?
with dogs.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So editing. It's all good.
It's all
Next.
good.
No, I'm perfectly comfortable with that. Mike Getcher, Chief Operating Officer, Chief Engineer, whatever, knucklehead, head knucklehead.
Man about town, all around good guy, friend of the downtrodden, uplifter of those in need.
No.
Keep going. I'm waiting to see where you're going to go next with that.
And I'm Jesse Mendoza. I'm the VPAN manager here on the Iowa.
So today we dragged Jesse in and we told him that we were just going to talk about the program that he was with, but then after we got him in the chair, we kind of expect him to get into his deepest, personal issues and being here and whatnot. Now, actually, Jesse, it is good to have you in the studio. You are the head of the VPAN program, the program manager for the Veterans Peer Access Network for Supervisory District 4 in Los Angeles. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the program and then a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Just kind of what Kyle was just talking about. I've been called Jeff. I've been called Jed.
Good.
I've been called John. So legal name is Jess. I prefer Jesse. And that's, that
would just
kind
like
of
to-
happened in high school.
Yeah.
So
I would like to take that soundbite and just repeat it on the 1MC here, the main announcing system, over and over, because I still trip over it. I'm like, Jesse.
And there's people that owe me money too. So
Good. All right, we can work that out later.
Mr. Mendoza.
We won't get into name mispronunciations over here. I'm just going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm part of the VPAN department here, the Veterans Peer Access Network for District 4, and we're a county-funded program, Department of Mental Health. And in a nutshell, I mean, the Veterans Peer Access Network was designed to link us to help link the veteran to VA services, some of the services that perhaps they didn't tap into yet as veterans. There's so many different myths out there regarding what's available not to them. So we service both veterans that have an honorable discharge, and then you have some that may have a OTHs other than honorable. So they're still entitled to the services that are out there. And I know we've had discussions, David. If you served, you're a veteran. Yeah. That's the way we see it here.
Yeah, we don't really look very much at your discharge status. We just figure if you are somebody who wore the cloth of the country, we're here to help you out. It's kind of interesting. We had talked about having what we call the Veterans Concierge Program aboard, which is a program where if you talk to a VA rep, you get the VA view. If you talk to a disabled American Veterans DAV rep, you get the DAV view. If you talk to American Legion, you get the American Legion view, Veterans Foreign Wars. You got all of these organizations that have veteran services and have VSOs or veteran service officers, but they have kind of a myopic view of only the programs that their organization has. And so we don't provide direct services. Instead, what we do is we want to be veterans that come alongside other veterans and help them navigate that maze of paperwork and whatnot. And I think there's a misconception about, particularly in the civilian world, that all veterans are broken. Yeah, I always recoil a little bit from that. All veterans are not broken, and this program is veterans helping veterans, not just veterans helping broken veterans.
Right.
So if you're successful and you need help, with financial management, we'll hook you up with the right resources to do that. If you're homeless and you need a place to live, well, we'll work to hook you up with the right resources for that as well.
Yeah, my dad was a World War II vet and needed a hernia surgery. Oh my gosh, that's many years ago. And the only way that he could afford to do that was actually through the Veterans Hospital. And I remember him accessing that back then. It would have been, my gosh, back in the early 70s, and that was 35 years, almost 30 years after the war. He was able to get that kind of service. And, this is a long time ago when you didn't have some of the regular medical services that you have now. But still, it was cool for him to be able to do that.
So it's the program. The program's kind of cool. You can always visit our website. So tell me, what's it like coming to work here on Battleship? This is not a normal office environment.
Right. Before I actually started working here, I was here for the Fleet Week, like 2 years prior. I was actually here. I have a picture of my wife and I and a couple of friends. And I don't remember if the ship was open. We had the concert going, and we took some pictures, and then we were just talking about, man, that'll be cool to get up on that ship. And 2 years later, I'm on the ship. I'm on the ship, and I had a conversation with one of the DMH folks out towards LA, and he actually brought up the opportunity of coming over to Battleship Iowa. So being an Army person, I just didn't know what to expect. To be honest, I didn't know what to expect. I saw some of the coffin beds, and I had to get some of the language down. David's been helping me. But to come on a ship, it is so cool just to be able to come out here and be a kid all over again. I mean, nothing beats having coffee on the fantail in the morning. You can't beat it.
Yeah.
And
we'll turn you into a sailor.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think he's retaliating because he's hiring primarily like Army and Marines. Isn't
it true that the Army has the largest Navy in the world?
I think they do. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you consider all the small boats and everything. So, it's just a side stream.
They're more watercraft than the Navy. That's certainly true. Yeah. And, every time Jesse hires a veteran advocate or one of the supervisors, I always look at the resume and I'm like, yeah, Army. Okay. It's good. It's okay. I totally get it. It's fine. No, we love having that. We actually have a pretty good cross section. We have Army, Navy, Marines represented in our Veteran Services organization. We have a new Military Veterans Affairs manager who's going to be coming on next month, and we're very excited about that. Working on some additional programs outside of the VPAN program, some job placement, job skills programs, both for transitioning veterans, those who are still on active duty, and those that have transitioned. So super excited to bring them on here. And this environment, we finished a podcast recently about kind of who we were and our ethos on preservation and touched a little bit about the culture. Bringing somebody in here, I think, is a great transition because you're in an environment that feels military, but we're not.
Right.
We're 100% a civilian organization. We don't have oversight. We're not DOD. And so I shouldn't say we don't have oversight. We don't have the DOD telling us how we run our organization.
Yeah. I might point out too that when you look at our volunteer corps, they're nominally 50% veterans, 50% non-veterans. Mm-hmm. So there's on the non-veteran side, you have people that are literally serving in some capacity now, and then on the veteran side, you have all of the services, there, just across the board, Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, whatever. It's all there.
We don't have Space Force yet.
No, that's true.
But we might. We might. Our MVA manager might be cross-decking to Space Force. She's still in the reserve. So.
Wow.
There you go.
Cool.
Space Force is involved in Fleet Week, though. They were out there. They had an exhibit of what they're doing, just educating people.
By the way, the Army came out full force last year. They were wonderful and just really had a great time. In fact, I think they're shifting some of their assets just to be able to be a part of this in the future for Fleet Week. It was really pretty cool.
It's kind of cool to be disruptive. I like being disruptive and doing things differently than people expect. And we have LA Fleet Week, and we invited the Army, and they showed up in force. It was fantastic. They had that M1 Abrams out there. They had the new Oshkosh. What is that? The tactical vehicle, the replacement for the Humvee.
And then they had the M88
I didn't even know what it was called.
That was actually my last unit.
Was it really?
Yeah, the National Training Center. That's where I ETS out of.
That's cool.
Just to see them there and to see the logo, our unit patch, that was pretty cool.
They actually won Galley Wars too, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah. We have a competition of cooks for between, was it Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, and Army? Was that
Army.
correct?
Yeah.
There's no
Army
Air Force. Is Air Force coming out next year?
I think they sent Space Force instead this year. I don't know about Air Force.
I hope they come out.
Jenny.
I hope we can shame them into coming out because they really belong out there.
Yeah.
Get everybody out there.
We do want to bring aircraft from all of the services out there.
Dude, that would be so epic. I think we landed 5 aircraft.
We sure did.
And the Marines come out strong too. But,
They did.
We have an Army-Navy game coming up too, by the way.
Oh, we do have an
on the big screen.
Navy beat Army.
Navy won last year, I remember.
So do I.
Yeah. Well, going back to being disruptive for a sec, I think that's kind of what makes us the place to be, is because people, I mean, even locally, don't necessarily know what all we do. They think that we're a museum ship, or they know us for a specific reason, whether it be Fleet Week or they've come up to Vicky's or something like that. A lot of people don't know just below the fantail, there's that whole Veteran Resource Center where people are coming aboard. And so educating more and more people about the variety of things that they can come here and engage with is really important to us. And so I think having an active manager like Jesse on board is helping spread that word. And so now you get 500 or 600 people come through last month.
We had close to 600.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was through the, right now we're starting to see a spike, like with our Vietnam veteran families. They're coming through, some of our veterans are passing away and their widows are looking for the benefits. And we have our VSO here, our Veterans Service Officer, that they come on board, and we've been very active with the benefits, benefit claims.
Yeah.
So
it's very cool.
It is kind of fun. We turned the whole CPO area. So a section of the CPO berthing was turned into offices. The CPO lounge and CPO mess are available as a training area, and the lounge basically as a lounge, and then the library is part of that as well. And we're working through how to properly use the library, and have some people that want to turn it into a research library, but it fits very well in the Veterans Resource Center. This is a place where you don't have to need something to show up. You can just show up. If you need to talk to somebody, or you want a place to, hey, I want to reconnect, I want to get back. I've used the phrase on a couple podcasts, I want to reconnect with my tribe.
Right.
This is a place to do it. And you don't have to be Navy. You don't have to be Army, Marines. We're all brothers and sisters in arms. We've all worn the cloth of the country. And that's a thread that ties us together.
Yeah, I'd like to come back to Kyle's comment too about people don't always know necessarily what we are. They think, kind of in a binary fashion about, whether we're just a museum with tours or you open or whatever it might be. But there's something a phrase that came out of my previous, I'm going to get in trouble again, institution, nonprofit. But it's a $30 million gig over here, 6-7 miles away. And basically the ED or executive director at the time called it social capital. It was building up social capital in your community. And that's something that struck, because we had a conversation with him many years ago, probably 7 or 8 years ago, just a couple years after opening up. And, that's a pretty profound thing. I didn't quite understand it at the time, but it really is true, because we build that social capital here, whether it's through the veterans programs or other community efforts aboard the ship. We open it up to the AA, of course, and all kinds of other nonprofits come aboard the vessel for different reasons. It's just, we are a community asset. It's a powerful thing.
Yeah, and we have a couple of different levels of social capital, I think, from our perspective. We have the immediate local capital. We have some regional capital with just people in Southern California, and the western region of the United States. But then we have the national level social capital that has politicians from DC coming and wanting to do things here. And that's really important for us, because then that national stage that we're standing on as the National Museum of the Surface Navy, it truly is showing that, okay, across the country, people know that when they're in Los Angeles, they're near the port of Los Angeles, they can come here, and whether they're holding a press conference, going for a tour, or just having lunch with us, we're the place to be, and that's important.
We are kind of a national stage, actually, not just on a stage. We are literally a stage. Yeah. We've had POTUS here, of course, the president. We've had multiple cabinet members here recently, and then just across the board, all the way sifting down into the local politics and just the fabric of our community.
Yeah. It is a fantastic place. One of my favorite things to see on the fantail is the citizenship swearing in for naturalized citizens, and we've done that a
Four-
couple,
at
3
least
times, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
And it's just an amazing thing because it represents everything that's here.
Right.
I mean, they're being sworn in. They're standing literally on top of our VRC that
I
we were
cry
focusing
every
on
time.
today.
I get all teary every time.
A lot of them are veterans themselves. A lot of people don't know that you can serve in the United States military and not be a citizen. And so one of the things that I'm really passionate about is using service as a pathway to citizenship. And there's some legal hurdles there, and there's some laws that candidly need to be changed. But we're advocates for that. And it's just, this is such a centerpiece, not just for the surface Navy, but for everything that the Stars and Stripes stand for. And to have that be here, to be able to open that up to people who have served in and out of uniform, to be that stage is just, it's an amazing place to be involved with. You know, I always tell people there are days this is a job. You know, you got a budget, got HR issues, got stuff to do, and you get kind of wrapped up in it. And then there are days when you roll into the parking lot and you look at the ship and you think, man, I can't believe I work here.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, some of our veterans that have come on board, you know, they'll come in to open up their claim. So when you open up your claim, you're kind of opening up your past. But coming on the ship, it kind of sets this different atmosphere for them. And I've seen a lot of the veterans come in one way and leave another. Like they just come in and they're kind of, you know, guarded. And then by the time they leave, they want to come back. They're having a hot dog at Vicky's. They're hanging out with some of our peers on the fantail. So that alone, the atmosphere is just something that you have to experience yourself. You need to come here and just be able to sit here and take it all in. So
This should be a home for, you know, everybody, and home for America, really. In a lot of ways, it's apolitical. It's in its purest form. It's neutral, and it doesn't matter what political persuasion you come in.
right. And then some of our new hires, you know, I kind of get them ready. I said, hey, you may pull up one day. You may have President Biden here, or you may have the councilman here. So just, you know, be ready. You just don't know what you know, every day's different here. So
Yeah, still
the cool
waiting for
thing.
that dull day on Battleship Iowa.
Yeah, no boring days here.
Let me know when that happens.
Yeah, exactly. So Jesse, what's your background? What brought you here
what brought me here?
besides a car?
Besides a car. So I joined the service at 17. So at 17,
I'm familiar with that.
Yes, 17. I raised my hand. I brought a recruiter home. I still remember my recruiter, Staff Sergeant Pumphrey. So he came into my house, and my dad looked at him. Go ahead, take him. And
Good riddance.
go ahead and sign off. And you know, my family, we have a strong military background. I mean, I have uncles that served from WW2 to like the most current campaign. So Korea, then there was the peacetime. And so I joined in 81 is when I raised my hand. 82 is when I left. And then I did my active duty. I was stateside, and then I had some orders to go to Korea. And I didn't have enough time in service, so they said you either re-up or stay stateside. So I stood stateside. And I thought I had a plan. It didn't work. My plan didn't work. So active duty, reserve time, and then the IRR. It was a total of 10 years that I gave. And it was right pre-Desert Storm. Desert Storm kicked off, and I remember receiving some more orders. And pretty much a bonus on the table. Do you want to raise your hand again? Do you want to go? And at the time, I had 2 kids already, and I can't do it. So fast forward, different jobs I went through. I did, my transition. We didn't have VPAN back then.
Right.
So pretty much I had my last check. Here's the number to the EDD office. Good luck.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
pretty much.
Yeah, transition's an important comment here. You might want to visit that too here.
Yeah.
They
I
kind
remember-
of just drop you off at the bus
That
stop.
was it. I was literally at a bus stop, Greyhound.
So I did Desert Storm. They did not. They weren't so kind as to give me an option. They just gave me orders, and so I went over to the Gulf. I was with a Special Boat Unit 11 at the time, and I literally went from being in a deployed situation to laying in bed with my wife in 48 hours. And there was no transition. There was
That's
no.
crazy.
It was like you got on a plane and you flew and then you were home, and that was that. And 48 hours earlier, you were in a completely different country, in a different thing, doing different stuff, and it was jarring. I think is the word, and I think working through transition is a super important thing that we do. It's part of what VPAN does, but VPAN really focuses on our transitioned veterans. We do have services for reservists, and we're reaching out to the local reserve centers and active duty as well. But on the other side of the house is we bring on new programs into Veterans West. Veterans West, by the way, is the brand for our veteran services. Same organization, but National Museum of the Surface Navy does not scream veterans services, so we have another brand called Veterans West at Battleship Iowa. It is absolutely the same organization. It's not separate. It doesn't. I work really hard to keep us integrated. But those transition services that we're looking for, we're starting with a program called SkillBridge. SkillBridge is paid for by DoD, and that takes somebody who is still on active duty in their last 3 to 6 months on active duty and allows them to do a civilian internship. And so we approach that a little differently. Normal, quote unquote, company would say, oh, free labor for 6 months. And we actually bring them in, move them between departments, give them a mentor, try to give them workplace skills, let them figure out, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? And what do you really want to do when you get out? Because everybody comes and they say, oh, I know what I'm going to do. And most of us that have gone through transition are like, yeah, it didn't work out real well.
Right.
And so to give people the experience that they have and then connect them with one of our partners, be they a donor or a supplier or somebody that we have a partnership with, so that they can transition into the civilian workplace. So we've had a couple success stories. We have a couple new SkillBridge people that are coming on this month.
Cool.
One, I think, in your department, Mike, and one in mine.
Coming in with Moser, Chief Moser.
And then we're also seeking funding, and I don't know how far down the road Jonathan and Kyle are on this. I might let you speak to that. But to fund, congratulations.
We have all the money.
But to fund sort of the same kind of program, but for people that have already transitioned. SkillBridge, these guys are still being paid by their service, by the Army, Navy, or by DoD. Once you transition, it is very much like, here's your hat, what's your hurry? See you later. And it is it's a little bit alarming because your whole world changes overnight, and we want to provide people that same kind of workplace skill, internship, mentorship, so that they can transition into a civilian capacity, understanding that they still have a support structure. And it's another thing that we provide here aboard Iowa. Just because you've gone through SkillBridge or another transitioning program does not mean you are not welcome here. Your mentor is still here. You can come back here. And we're proud to have those people still be volunteers and part of our crew.
Yeah, and if you want to go back and listen, we did a podcast with our first SkillBridge intern, Kristen, who was completely wonderful. And so look back through our not archived, but our past episodes, and we've got a really good one with her.
Yeah, one of the things I was struck by was, for somebody who's been in the military for perhaps 20 years, you literally walk out of one culture into a world that's much different. It's even just how you work, how you interact with people and some of the different basic rules of society almost. It's kind of odd. It was a powerful thing to watch Kristen transition. It was really cool.
It is odd. Now, I had the last half of my career I did in the reserve. And so you can say that I spent 10 years transitioning. And honestly, I talked to Kristen about this as well, and she didn't have to make that decision for another month or two, I think. But I really recommend the reserve as not just a stay involved, but as a transition mechanism, because you are still connected to the culture that you're still wearing the uniform, but you're in the civilian world and you have this ability to kind of ease into the position. Very, very different than simply having your EAOS, here's your DD-214, your discharge paperwork, have a nice day. Yeah. I'm not here to bang the drum, and I'm certainly not getting anything from the recruiting offices, but I know for me personally, that time in the reserve obviated a lot of the transition issues that I see us dealing with our veterans that are coming in to talk to us.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up against the clock here, so
all right.
Any last things you want to share?
Well, transition, I think it's important because I think a couple of things that just happened to me and I see it go on is there's the immediate is I'm out of the military, and then the transition just takes time. Like kind of to David's point, it took me a few years, and the way the whole piece came together, I kind of went my way. VA, the veteran world went the other way when I left. I had a decent experience, nothing, I no regrets. But I had my son when I shared it with David. When he deployed, then it became personal. I just interact with people. I interact with veteran world again. It came back into my life again. So, and then I met David through some other folks, and here I am. And I'm grateful to be able to come on a ship, come to work, and be in this world again, and kind of keep up with the trends that are happening right now in the veteran world.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining
thank
us.
you.
Oh, thank
Thanks
you.
for shining the light on the VPAN program and Veterans West at Battleship Iowa. Again, that is our active veterans program. Not what you would normally consider a museum doing, but we're very active in the community. There are always opportunities, shameless plug, to come out and volunteer, get involved.
Yes.
Whether it's in the veterans pillar, the veterans programs, or whether you want to just come out and hang out on the ship. As Jesse said, it is a pretty cool environment. Also, if you want to send us feedback on the podcast, please send us that email to podcast, podcast at labattleship.com, podcast at labattleship.com. And we look forward to hearing your feedback. Join us next time on another exciting episode of Scuttlebutt, the official podcast of the National Museum of the Surface Navy.